Welcome back. It's time now for Media Watch with James Creedon. Hello, James.
Evening, Annette.
Mali is obviously still one of the top stories in the French media. What sort of angles are you looking at today, James?
Well, just two angles. Yesterday we looked at the extent to which journalists are penned in Bamako, and that's still an issue. People complaining about the fact that they can't get up to the front line and cover what's really going on. Now, another issue that's making the media today is the choice of language, semantics. If we take a look at Le Lab de Europe 1, their website, Le Choix des mots, they're talking about how the enemy is being qualified as simply terrorists by the state. You have the defense minister here, Jean-Yves Le Drian, one of pretty much all of the ministers, and indeed the president himself, who are using the words terrorists, our enemies, terrorist elements, terrorist and criminal groups. That was Fabius, the foreign minister. What about Islamists or fundamentalist Islam or other such words like that are being used to define the enemy? Because they're the words being chosen by the media in large part. They're ignoring the official, well, I don't know what you say spin, but the words being used, the semantics being used by the government to choose their own. I can show you here online. This is a typical headline we're seeing in the Nouvel Observateur. Who are these Islamist fighters? And one of the theories that one journalist came up with as to why the government is being so careful about the wording is simply offending Muslim people. They're just trying to be careful not to tread on people's toes. The French Council for the Muslim Faith did raise this issue over the weekend. They I suppose, criticised what they called abusive use of the terms Islamist and Islamism. So there you go. And just one other angle, a certain amount of criticism from French government ministers about the lack of help from other European countries in this fight. This cartoon by Le Monde's cartoonist Plantu shows Hollande in the form of Tintin, with I think the Dubois brothers? Dupont brothers, that's it, saying, "We're with you, yes, indeed, we're with you." But in fact, that's not really the case. They're just sitting alongside, watching for the most part.
James, let's change the subject
Yes.
now. And Lance Armstrong's tell-all interview with Oprah Winfrey is causing a lot of buzz, isn't it, here in France?
That's right. I'll just show you a couple of the tweets that we have on that, Annette. To all those people who told me Armstrong was a cheat while I constantly defended him, I apologise. That's one tweet coming from an Al Jazeera journalist. Here we have Armstrong. Is he going to apologise to Simeone, to Basson, to Monquite, who he robbed victories from? Another person here saying, oh, let's not be hypocritical in the media. Armstrong was perhaps had taken drugs, but he wasn't alone. The French participants didn't escape this rule of thumb. So one person saying it was across the board. And here, thousands of athletes have taken performance-enhancing drugs, but none of them did what Lance did to raise cancer awareness and millions of dollars. So somebody saying, look, it's not all bad. So there's a lot of discussion in the French media about this.
He's a divisive figure in the world as well.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about that. Now, the centre-right party here in France, which is the main opposition party known as the UMP, has finally mended its infamous rift. And the breakaway party, which we refer to in English or in French as the Rump Party, which of course causes more than a few giggles among us Anglo employees here at the channel, has actually been dissolved.
That's right. I'll show you some of the reaction to that, Annette. Here is the logo, or the imagined logo, of the Rassemblement, or the kind of gathering of the UMP party.
Do you think they realised what it means in English?
They didn't initially. It shows how disorganised this whole split was, and the chaos that reigned in the party for a number of months.
But the reality is, do they care what it means in English?
Well, it's been buried now, so that's the main thing. I'll show you. So these are the two men who had the massive rift, Fillon and Copé. They now have put together a sort of a collegial management of the party. This is the Huffington Post's impression of what that management's logo might look like. Still a little bit blurry, but at least it's not as bad as that, cracking down the middle, or Rump with all sorts of explosive noises. A lot of people having fun with it on Twitter as well. R.I.P. Rump, rip Rump. Filloniste, or Fillon supporters, shake your rump. And that was, of course, the big joke back in the day. French UMP conservatives dissolve rebel faction. Rump, this is not a porn link, says one person. And I liked this one. I really, really like a big fat piece of steak, rump, with chips and salad. That had nothing to do with it at all. That was just #rump.
Now, next to Gerard Depardieu, who's effectively been killed off by a French magazine with their cover saying Gérard Depardieu 1948 to 2013.
Now, he got a very rough time in the French media in the last couple of weeks. It had died down in the past week or so. And here you have Les Inrecuptibles, which is a sort of, I suppose, the biggest culture music magazine in France. And look at that. If you zoom down to the bottom, it's almost like his, obituary or something. The editorial by Audrey Pulvar is also quite critical, saying, look, it's better to remember the good times. It helps one in the grieving process. So they're really driving the nail in. Just in 2010, just as recently as 2010, he made the cover of Les Inrocks with his daughter. So there you go. A lot has changed in 2 or 3 years. And some pointing out that it's not the first time a French magazine has done this. You can see here another French journal, a French star, Thierry Ardisson, who had the same treatment. And just very quickly, a couple of tweets in that. C'était Les Inrocks, started in 1986 up to 2013. A lot of people criticising the magazine itself, saying its quality has gone down the loo, down the swanny in the last few years. So maybe they should be writing their own obituary.
Down the what?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to repeat it.
And that's it with James Creedon for Media Watch. Do stay
Thanks,
with
Anna.
us here on France 24, because coming up, web news, and a Dutch artist has set herself an original challenge when she decided to recreate some of the American painter's Edward Hopper's works in photo format. That's after the break, so do stay with us here.